What would you consider the most evil of humanity? That which defines evil, incarnate evil itself. Is it the devil? Is it a monster like a vampire or a werewolf? Is it a simple animal, a beast of the forest, like a lion, a tiger, a wolf, or a bear? Is it something from a bygone age that we wish to avoid repeating? Or something from the future, maybe? Is it something biblical or scientific? Both, or maybe neither? Possibly all of the above. Nature, or humanity itself? Is it us? Is it we? Is it humans? That would be the most evil of humanity? Are we our own monsters? Is it as simple as fear itself from a creepy crawly spider, which is rather small and insignificant, and yet one of the most common fears humans have, but not surpassed by the fear of the unknown, which is most definitely the most common fear humanity has had since the dawn of mankind itself. Darkness in its infinite, death itself. Supervillain, superhero? Because there are cases of even the heroes we worship being that which we fear most. What qualifies something as evil? Imagine, if you will, a forest. A forest could have none of these above elements, or all of the above. They could have lions, they could have wolves, infected by plagues or darkness itself. A lion or a wolf hiding among the branches of a tree or the bushes beneath a tree, ready to pounce on you. Getting simply turned around and losing your way. Starvation, dehydration. Not to mention if the forest itself is already filled with darkness, but then when night comes and you can't even see the stars or the moon to light your way home. Is a forest the epitome of evil? Does that mean a forest is evil? Or that which lurks within the forest itself? The unknown of known enemy, which is to be feared more. The unknown or known enemy, which is to be feared more. Let's step back to an era, and tell me if you've heard this tale before. You are a woman, given the world by her parents that loved you deeply and dearly. A father dies. A would-be boy pops up out of nowhere and steals that which should be rightfully yours. You plot the demise of this child time and time again, only to fail over and over again. You've married a king, perhaps, so that you are doing fairly well for yourself. You could want nor need not for more in life. You've had children. You rule over people, but is it good enough? No, it isn't good enough. For this isn't your land, your home, that which, by all rights, should be yours, that which you grew up within. Your children want nothing but for you to be proud of them. Several young boys, maybe a girl or two, but you can't love, you won't. It shows weakness. You can use this love to your advantage, though. Your boys enroll and become knights to the usurper. Spies for you, beknownst or unbeknownst to them. You send trials their way, some intended for them to prove their own worth and to your mortal enemy. And then some other trials unbeknownst to them. Some meant for the king, only for their lives to be put in danger. In some cases, quite literally, not just figuratively, putting their heads on the line for this king. Servants of shadows, servants of the forest, ready to behead all in your way. Monsters, demons, creatures that mankind does fear. You plot and plot till one day, all it takes is a metaphorical pebble to be flicked at and break this castle of glass. For in 3 different ways, all your dreams have come true, all your ambitions realized. For this kingdom crumbles. You got what you wanted, achieved victory, no matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice, at the loss of those you cared for or cared for you. You arrive to stare down your foe, your enemy, the villain who robbed you of everything, that which you hated all these years from the depths of your heart and soul. That all this time wasted was to take back what was rightfully yours. And yet, you can't help but love them and carry them to their tomb, to their final resting place in your arms. This is the story, the mythology of Morgan Le Fay. Did you enjoy that story? Of the Princess of Camelot, turned witch and evil fairy? Yet that is only one version of the tale. Throughout history, legends of Arthur, his knights, and then some have been through many, many iterations. Even the original stories, there can be as few as 3 alterations of Mordred, the slayer of Arthur, bastard son of Arthur, or just his nephew. Lancelot, the most famous of knights, the most beloved and remembered of his knights, besides Arthur himself, existing or not existing. The Lady of the Lake, with several different names such as Vivian, Nimue, or just simply Lady of the Lake. Even his famous sword, Excalibur's creation, has as few as 5 iterations. Yet Morgan Le Fay is the most puzzling out of all of them, out of all the tales and trials of Arthur and his multitude of loyal knights. Via her children, she ensured the end of her brother's kingdom, and his legend would come to an end due to many factors in the grand final battle on Camlan Hill, of which was the result of his bastard son and or nephew, Mordred. For in that fateful battle he would deal a fatal blow to Arthur. He would fall in battle to his uncle or father, but the wound being too fateful is what caused Arthur's demise. And yet that is not the only one, for it was for her child Agravain who ensured the betrayal of the most famous of Arthur's knights, and Arthur's own queen and wife, Guinevere, to fall in love and sleep together, performing the ultimate betrayal, which would lead to Lancelot's expulsion from the Knights of the Round Table and Camelot, resulting in him slaying one of his fellow knights, meeting in a fateful battle against the famous Gawain, a duel most fierce, yet neither would fall in battle. Gawain would receive a fatal blow which inevitably would lead to his own demise. Not this day, nor the next, but eventually. Whereas Guinevere, depending on the tale, is either executed for her betrayal to her king, or is also exiled from Camelot, in which she would become a nun to repent for her sins and betrayals to Arthur, the knights, and Camelot as a whole. All these gears and more orchestrated, puppeteered by Morgan Le Fay. For some stories she doesn't exist at all, and Arthur has another traitorous half-sister. Wife of King Lot, mother of Mordred, and the legendary Gawain, who risked his neck, again literally, against the Green Knight, are as much Morgan's life as they are the Lady Morgause, as it's pronounced. The earliest story of Arthur has this sister. No traces of Morgan. So from where did Morgan come up from? For that we must travel to Ireland and investigate the gods of Celtic myth and religions. For there we find a goddess, every bit as dark and sinister and twisted as Morgan herself, for whom shares that name, simply called the Morrigan. Goddess of war, fate, and death, foretelling of doom, victories in battle, often appearing as a crow in disguise. A very familiar, familiar to witches, is it not? Pun not intended, but welcomed. Some tales tell of the Morrigan being a single entity, other stories as three separate goddesses, and sharing many similarities with Norse Valkyrie, as well as the three goddesses of Greece, simply known as the Three Fates. It's easy to see how and why one of the earliest and most well-known witches in legend and mythology would have such a sinister tale in her own right. And while in threes, the patterns the Morrigan shares, be it singular or in threes, is relatively similar to the four horsemen of the apocalypse, in which the most notable one, the final horseman, the Pale Rider, is the Grim Reaper himself, Death. Whereas his brothers are that of war, plague, and famine. It's easy to see how and why one of the earliest and most well-known witches in legend and mythology would have such a sinister tale in her own right. She's no Circe of Greece, one of the earliest depictions of witches, but her history as a witch is filled with blood and bodies galore. When translated, the Morrigan's name means the Phantom Queen. Befitting that Morgan Le Fay should draw inspiration from the Morrigan, is it not? Although this is just a theory, it is also possible that Morgan Le Fay draws inspiration from the Welsh goddess Modron, known as the Divine Mother. It cannot be 100% confirmed if she was inspired by one or the other, or both, maybe even. All that is known is she starts showing up in Arthurian legend while Morgause is phased out. Most prominently known to show up in Geoffrey Monmouth's version of the Arthurian legends. Many modern-day stories have interpretations of her, such as Marvel, the BBC's TV show simply known as Merlin, in which both Morgause and Morgan make an appearance, the Fate franchise, among many others. But none quite tell the whole truth of this wicked witch. Which is what we are here to explore today. Despite her wickedness, it is true that tale I told you. In the end, in Arthur's final moments, it is actually Morgan, not the Lady of the Lake, of which whom forged Excalibur for him, a fellow Fae, who ensured Arthur's conquest and rise to becoming the famous knight, the famous White Knight of Purity, and the king we all know and remember today. No, not even Merlin, the wizard who foretold and led Arthur to his destiny, who pushed him to pull the sword from the stone. No, but instead it was the half-sister, both loathed and yet loved her baby brother. Loathed and loved in more ways than one. That is the tale, the legend, the mythology of the Morrigan, Morgause, Morgana, and of course, Morgan Le Fay.